Hi friends, here is the second part of the Candy Rainbow tutorial. This part is going to include a couple of variations and different ways that I use the scraps from the Candy Rainbow slab and just how I do things a little bit differently to make some interesting looks and have a little bit of variety. Right here, what I'm doing is I am creating another Candy Rainbow slab to work from. You don't have to do that. You can totally use your scraps. I just didn't have any left, or at least not enough to do what I wanted to show you. So I am remaking a Candy Rainbow slab. This time, though, I did do it a little differently in order to show you guys just how it might look a little bit different when using alcohol ink and when using Sculpey translucent clay. So the clay I'm working with is, the clay rolled out very, very thin. I think I rolled it on a 7 on my machine, which is pretty close to, the thinnest you can go. But I mixed Sculpey translucent with a little bit of Cernit Pearl because I want these to be very shimmery. And I'm going in with alcohol ink in a variety of rainbow colors. And I just want these to be a little lighter, a little less vibrant than they would be if I put a full drop of each ink on them. So you're going to see me with certain colors just dabbing a little bit of ink onto it because I know with this small size of clay that I'm using, if I put one whole drop of green, for instance, on a piece, it is going to be very vibrant and bright. And for this particular style, I'm just not going for that vibrant of a look. So I am using just a little bit less of the more vibrant colors on the ink, or on the clay. And I just know from experience kind of what color they're going to turn out to be. And yeah, so I'm just using a little bit less of the more vibrant colors. A tip I wanted to share with you guys also is make sure you thoroughly shake your inks before you use them with clay. I don't know if you saw my reel that I posted recently on Instagram, but I showed what happens if you don't thoroughly shake your ink. You can get little kind of like hyperpigmentations where there will be a dot of whatever ink color it is, and it'll be like super vibrant, and then everything else will be the color you wanted. So just really make sure that you shake your inks very well. I didn't really do that when I was filming this, and that's why I got a few little ink dots on the finished products. And that was because I was just kind of in a hurry to get this filmed, and I wasn't thinking too much about it. So for the rest of this, what I'm going to do, here I am showing you that I use some Cernit Pearl, and they will be shimmery. What I'm going to do is the same thing as I did on the Candy Rainbow tutorial part 1. So if you need to go back and revisit that to see how to complete this slab, then do feel free to go back and rewatch that tutorial because I am going to begin to speed this up so you guys don't have to sit through the entire thing again. And what I'm doing here is I am adding in the little squares of pearl. So what I applied the ink to was just plain Sculpey translucent, and I'm going to be adding just an itty bitty chunk of the Cernit Pearl to each one of those little pieces so that it will get some shimmer. I did also use a thinner paint with these so that you guys can see how they turn out with the thinner paint as opposed to the thicker paint that I used in the first tutorial. Again, I am speeding this up so much so that you don't have to sit through and watch part 1 basically all over again. You guys can see that I'm doing the same technique. I've actually really loved seeing all of your creations. So many people have tagged me and showed me what you made and sent me messages, and you guys are killing it, which makes me feel good because that means the tutorial was easy enough to follow and it wasn't too complicated. So I'm really happy that it's working out, and I can't wait to see the results from this part. The first variation is going to be very simple. I'm just going to be folding this slab over a few times, running it through my pasta machine after each fold to make it more of a marbled, diffused pastel effect. so it will not look so full of lines anymore. So you're going to see me look at both sides, and I'm going to fold in half for the prettier side. I'm going to run it through my pasta machine. There it is. I'm going to do the same thing again. Find a pretty side, fold it in half. Each time I'm going to fold it in half, run it through the pasta machine, and this is going to create a marbled effect. When I'm done with that, I will roll it out onto a 3 or a 4 thickness. I will then cut out my shapes and bake, sand, resin, do all the things to finish the earrings. And I did not show that part for this slab, but you will see the finished product. Now I'm going to start my second variation. So I am using a slab of translucent Sculpey mixed with some of the Cernit Pearl, and I'm taking the pieces from the candy rainbow slab we made earlier, and you're going to see me just start to lay these pieces out kind of separate from each other. So I'm not going to try to overlap them too much. I want space between. I also have this piece of translucent with the pearl. I have it rolled out on a 4. So it's on sort of like in the middle thinness for my pasta machine. And I am going to be putting all these little scrappy chunks on there. And the goal is, for me, when I do this technique, is to have the scrap pieces that I'm putting on to be a little bit raised. So when I apply resin, I apply enough resin so that it almost gives more dimension. So how I'm doing this is just visually, I'm looking at each piece and I'm seeing which one looks pretty, where do I want to put it, thinking about where I'm going to be cutting and what shapes, what size of shapes I'm going to be using. And again, this is just a small little scrappy slab. You could make a much larger one. I'm just doing it for demonstration. What I really like to do is take the little end pieces that are very stripy that I cut off of the slab originally to make it more square. And because they are just like a stacked stripe, I like to slice little thin pieces of those off. And I like to put those into this scrap slab as well. So you're going to see me do that here. And I'm going to lay those around in some of the gaps. Now it's totally up to you how many scrap pieces you put onto this slab, how much space you leave between them. I like to leave a decent amount of space because, especially since I made these shimmery, it just looks really, really pretty to have sort of little pops of the rainbow rather than full rainbow, if that makes sense. So you're going to see me just fill in a few little gaps with the stripey guys. And when I do add resin to this, because I am going to have it like a little more raised where the pieces I'm putting on are, it's just going to give such cool dimension, and you guys will see that in the finished pieces as well. Once I'm finished applying the little pieces of scraps, I am going to take this over to my pasta machine and I'm going to roll it out on a 3. So that way the base was a 4 and I rolled out the pieces onto a 3, so they're going to be just a little tiny bit raised. So I'm trying to show you that right here. It's kind of hard to get a good view. You can see it better with your eyeballs. But those rainbow pieces will be slightly raised off of the slab that they're on, which is going to give it so much fun dimension, as I said before, when you add your resin. And here I am cutting out my shapes. You kind of see my process. I sort of line up my cutter and I try to make things, a little bit matchy. So if I have a stripy piece of rainbow on the top of one piece, I might want to put a stripy piece of rainbow on the opposite top side of the other piece, if that makes sense. I am also in the process of making a really nice list for you guys of all of my favorite places to get cutters. I've been working with clay for several years now, and I have way more cutters than I would admit to my husband, let's say. I have so many. So I've shopped at so many different shops on Etsy and just all around the internet, and I'm trying to go back through and find out which ones I know that I really liked and which shops I got them from, so I can make you guys a nice Etsy list and just a list of different suppliers that I trust their products and I've been using them for years and they haven't broken and things like that. Ones that are nice and sharp and cut well, because there are some shops that, I mean, they're just not sharp. They just kind of like push your clay out of the way. So anyway, here you go. You can see me cutting my shapes. And I'm going to speed that up just a little bit for you. Okay, so here they are pre-bake. Once I have baked them on 275 for, I usually do a full hour, then I will sand them and resin them, and here is the finished product. So you can see the first two pairs on the left
So those
are
will
from
have
the
a more
first slab that I
marbled,
did.
kind of diffused effect, almost like pastel little taffies, really cute. And then the second variation that I showed you, you can see there's a lot of dimension in these. There's a lot of shimmer, a lot of shine.
I hope
They
this
just look
was
really
a
pretty,
helpful
and it's
little
such a
mini
fun way to use
tutorial
your scraps.
on
I
not
would
only
love
with
to
this
see
slab,
if you
but
guys
with
try
any
out
type
some
of
of
slab
these.
that
Feel
you
free to
make.
tag me on
With your
Insta with your
scraps.
creations. I love seeing them. Bye!